Amelia Harper had never been mistaken for professional, not once in her 27 years. She painted, she wore paint-splattered jeans, she lived in the attic apartment of a bakery, and she didn't own a single blazer. But here she was, standing, in the arrivals section of Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, dressed in her cousin Julia's sleek grey pantsuit, holding a sign that read, Mr. D. Kingsley, Wellridge Group. She tried not to sweat through the silk blouse she borrowed without asking. Her cousin had called in a panic 40 minutes earlier. Please, please, Amy, you owe me. Just one thing, pick him up, smile, don't talk too much, no jokes, don't tell him you're not me, just stand there and drive him to the hotel, that's all. Amelia protested, loudly, but in the end she'd said yes, like she always did when Julia needed help. Now she was trying not to look completely out of place. People bustled by in business attire, dragging sleek luggage. Amelia stood holding the sign like a cardboard apology, wishing her ballet flats were less squeaky. Her eyes scanned the crowd. There were men in suits and trench coats, women with tidy handbags and efficient expressions, and a few tired tourists with neck pillows still around their necks. Then she saw him. He was tall, very tall, with dark, neatly combed hair, clean-shaven cheeks and sharp cheekbones. A navy trench coat fit perfectly over a crisp white shirt. He walked calmly, scrolling something on his phone, then looked up and caught her eyes. He walked toward her. Those eyes, blue, observant, lingered on her sign. Mr. Kingsley, she asked, almost doubting herself. He nodded once. Yes, that's me. A British accent. Polite, clipped. She cleared her throat. I'm Julia's assistant. She sends her apologies, couldn't make it. I'll be taking you to your hotel. He smiled slightly. Not smug, not bored, just pleasant. Very kind of you, and your name is? Amelia. Amelia Harper. He held out his hand. Pleasure, Miss Harper. His hand was warm, firm. She tried not to show her nerves and gestured toward the exit. Cars this way. They walked side by side through the terminal, and for a moment she forgot she was impersonating someone else. Out at the curb, she loaded his carry-on into Julia's borrowed company car. Black. Pristine, with a Bluetooth dash, and not a crumb in sight. Inside the car, he folded his long frame into the passenger seat. She started the engine, pulled out into traffic, and tried not to panic. He looked out the window in silence for a few minutes. Then, unexpectedly, he spoke. Is that the sound over there? She followed his gaze. Yeah, Puget Sound. You get a glimpse of it from the bridge. I guess you've been here before. Years ago. I'd almost forgotten how the light hits the harbor. In the late afternoon, she glanced sideways. You speak like a poet. He chuckled. I'm afraid not. My assistant says I'm the most boring man alive. That made her laugh. A genuine, sudden laugh. Your assistant clearly doesn't know what boring means. He looked over at her then, like he was trying to figure her out. You don't seem like a corporate assistant, he said after a moment. Her fingers tightened on the steering wheel. Why would you say that? You have paint under your nails. She cursed internally and looked down. Sure enough, barely noticeable. Smudges of ochre and green, her last canvas. He smiled again, gentler this time. No offense taken, I rather admire it. They fell into a strange, comfortable silence. By the time they reached the hotel, a sleek, mirrored high-rise downtown, Amelia almost didn't want the drive to end. The valet opened the car door for him. Inside, the front desk manager greeted them with a slight bow. Mr. Kingsley, welcome back. We've arranged the suite on the top floor as requested. He nodded. Perfect, thank you. Amelia turned to leave, eager to get back to her own world, but then he touched her elbow lightly. Would you care to have coffee before you go? Just for a few minutes. I wouldn't mind the company while I wait for the first round of meetings. She hesitated. I don't think I should. I'm really just here to... You'd be doing me a kindness. His voice was quiet, sincere, and something in her gave way. All right, she said. Coffee sounds nice. They rode the elevator to the rooftop lounge. quiet, modern, all soft lighting and glass windows overlooking the water. They sat in a corner booth, ordered cappuccinos, talked. She told him about her family, about small-town life, about sketching strangers in parks. He asked questions like he actually wanted to hear the answers. He told her about London, about how the city never really went quiet, about train stations and rainy Sundays. "You're not what I expected," she said. "Neither are you." It felt like the beginning of something. Then his phone rang. He excused himself and stepped aside to answer it. She sipped her coffee, watching the sky turn lavender through the glass. And then she heard it. "Yes, I know I wasn't expected early, but the board can wait. Tell Julia Harper I'm here. Yes, Derek Kingsley, the CEO of Wellridge." The cup stopped midway to her lips. Her heart fell through the floor. She picked up the wrong CEO. She looked over at him, still on the phone, now pacing slightly, relaxed, unaware, or worse, very aware. She stood up, feeling heat rise in her face. When he returned, she met him with wide eyes. "You're not Mr. Kingsley." He tilted his head, then smiled softly. "I was wondering how long it would take you." "You knew?" she asked, horrified. "I suspected. When I saw the sign said Wellridge. I work for an entirely different company in London. My name is Daniel Kent. But I thought the coincidence was interesting. You let me drive you here. You let me bring you coffee and treat you like I never lied. You asked if I was Mr. Kingsley. I said, yes, I am. Just not that Kingsley." She stared at him, mouth open. "You let me think. I liked talking to you," he said, "and I wanted to see where it would go." "You are unhinged." Possibly. She should have stormed out, should have called Julia, should have screamed, but instead she laughed, loud and unwilling, because this entire thing was too absurd to be real. Then her phone rang. Amelia answered it. "Where are you?" "The real Mr. Kingsley has been waiting for 2 hours. He called the board." "I'm going to get fired, Amelia." "Fired? What the hell did you do?" She rushed downstairs, phone clamped to her ear, to find a sharp-eyed older man in a three-piece suit tapping his foot in front of the hotel's concierge desk. "Mr. Kingsley," she said, breathless. "I'm so sorry. There was a mix-up." He had cut her off. "You are not on my staff list. Where is Julia Harper?" She fumbled for words. Then Daniel Kent stepped up beside her. Calm, cool. "If I may," he said. Miss Harper was doing her best. The confusion was understandable. A simple mistake. "Please don't hold her responsible." Mr. Kingsley narrowed his eyes. "And you are?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Wrong man, right place." Somehow that ended the conversation. Julia didn't get fired. Daniel had connections, more than he let on. He made calls, smoothed things over, and then he disappeared, flying back to London. Amelia didn't expect to hear from him again, but a week later a package arrived. Inside, a handmade leather-bound sketchbook and a note. "You told me you only ever draw for people who make you feel something. I hope you'll draw again, maybe even me. Dinner? Thursday? Daniel Kent." They had dinner, and then another, and then more. He visited again. She painted again. They walked the waterfront in the rain and argued about art and drank wine on rooftops. Months passed. One rainy spring day, he knocked on her door, not with a suitcase, but with a small box. And then, a year later, Amelia Harper stood once again at the airport pickup lounge, wearing her own clothes, holding a sign. Daniel Kent, fiancé and... This time, she knew exactly who he was, and exactly what she was picking up.